Being able to read and understand your natal chart is very important. If you didn't already know, the natal chart in astrology is everything. It is literally the blueprint to your life. Your particular natal chart is the blueprint to your life. But what happens if you have absolutely no idea how to read your natal chart, or you've looked it over and you are completely confused? No worries, this specific video is for you. As a matter of fact, this specific series of videos is for you. So welcome to part 3 of a 5-part series dedicated to reading your natal chart. Each video will discuss one component of the natal chart, and then the 5th and final video will put it all together. And I promise that by the time you finish this series, you will be able to read your natal chart like a pro. And in doing so, you'll be able to not only understand yourself, but your life as well. All right, so this particular video is dedicated to the zodiac signs. So without further ado, let's get into it. What's up, everybody? As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Mel, your new favorite astrologer, and I'm the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So we are right in the middle of our How to Read Your Natal Chart series. So in part 1, we discussed the planets and how they represent the different topics in our lives. Then in part 2, we discussed the houses and how they represent the different areas of our lives in which those topics play out. So now today, we're going to be taking it a step further and we're going to be discussing the zodiac signs. All right, so let's go. So first things first, let's cover the basics. So let's talk about the zodiac signs generally. So each component of the natal chart answers a specific question. So first, we learned that the planets answer the question what, as in what are we seeking? So like I mentioned before, the planets represent the different topics in our lives. Then we looked at the houses, and the houses answer the question where, as in where do we find what we are seeking? So in other words, the houses represent the areas of our lives where those planetary topics are playing out. So when it comes to the zodiac signs, the specific question that the zodiac signs answer is how, as in how do we find what we are seeking? So to boil it down to its essence, the zodiac signs represent how the planetary energies in your natal chart are playing out. Each zodiac sign represents a style of expression. So in other words, the zodiac signs give color, give meaning, give a little more depth as to how the planetary energies act and how they express themselves. So I feel like of the 4 pillars of astrology, the zodiac signs is the one that most people are familiar with. People are familiar with the zodiac signs in general and with their sun sign in particular. Each sign has certain characteristics, and it's those generalized characteristics that allow us to determine how a planet or point in your natal chart will express itself. However, this video is meant to go a bit deeper than just rattling off zodiac sign characteristics. If that's what you're interested in, that's what you want, definitely consider downloading my Astrology Basics cheat sheet. It basically gives you a quick and dirty summary on all 4 pillars of astrology. If you're interested, that link is going to be in the description box below. So the purpose of this series is to get you to really understand in the best way possible your natal chart so that you can actually read it and actually have a firm grasp and understand what it actually says about you. So that's why this goes a bit deeper and it's a bit more nuanced, okay? That being said, we need to talk about the zodiac sign groupings. So the zodiac signs are grouped according to certain factors, and these factors allow us to get powerful information about how the planets act, and in doing so, we can learn a lot more about our personality, what motivates us, and what makes us tick. All right, so these factors are known as duplicity, triplicity, and quadruplicity. All right, so let's examine each of these individually and see exactly what they mean. So first up is duplicity, and duplicity refers to a sign's polarity. So as you can tell by the name, there are two polarities. So there's two ends of the extreme. On the one hand, we have positive or masculine polarity, and then on the other hand, we have negative or feminine polarity. So keep in mind, this has nothing to do with sex or gender or positive meaning good or negative meaning bad. It's just a mode of expression. So in other words, the positive or masculine polarity expresses itself outwardly, it is extroverted, and it requires external stimulation and interaction. And on the other hand, we have the negative or the feminine polarity that is introverted, inwardly focused, and concerned with the interior experiences. So then next we have triplicity, and that refers to a sign's element. So as you probably are already aware, there are four elements: fire, earth, air, and water. So in terms of the fire element, that energy is bold, it's dynamic, and it's very initiating. It has a lot to do with courage, with optimism, and a bit of impulsivity. Then we have the element of earth. And earth is very grounded, it's very practical, and it's very realistic. Thereafter, we have the element of air, which has everything to do with our thoughts and our mental activities and the way we communicate and relate to others. And then finally, we have the water element, which is representative of our emotions, of our darker sides, and of our intuition, psychic abilities. Anything that has to do with our subconscious is related to the element of water. And then finally, we have quadruplicity, which refers to a sign's modality. So there are three different modalities. We have cardinal, fixed, and immutable. So cardinal energy is the energy of initiation. It actually represents the energy at the start of the seasons throughout the year. So the start of winter, spring, summer, and fall is representative of cardinal energy. The thing to keep in mind is that it starts things. Thereafter, we have fixed modality, and that is the energy of the middle of the season when the weather has finally settled. So everything having to do with fixed modality is representative of stabilizing and securing the energy, and it's very resistant to change. And then finally, we have mutable energy, and mutable energy represents the energy at the end of the season when the weather is about to change and when a new season is upon us. Everything having to do with the mutable modality has to do with change, flexibility, and adaptability. So each of the 12 zodiac signs is grouped according to these three factors. And again, they're duplicity, triplicity, and quadruplicity. And in grouping the signs in this way, it allows us to understand further how the energies of the planets or different points in our natal chart express themselves. It's more than just saying that Aries is fiery, but if you know the triplicity, the duplicity, the triplicity, and the quadruplicity of Aries energy, it allows you to take that examination of the expression a bit further and a bit deeper. All right, so speaking of which, now let's get into each individual sign and see what they're all about. So of course, we start off at the beginning, and that means that we start with the sign of Aries. So Aries is positive or masculine, fire, and cardinal. So any planets or points that are contained in the sign of Aries, they would be very fiery, very bold, dynamic. They would be concerned with starting things. They would also be very outwardly expressive. So they would be sort of in your face, very blunt, to the point. And again, very fiery, very bold, and probably a bit impulsive. All right. We all know an Aries or two, and they do not hold their tongues. They are very blunt, tend to be extremely impulsive, but very good at getting motivated and starting new things. All right. So that's the essence of Aries energy. So next up, we have Taurus, which is feminine, earth, and fixed. So any planets or points that are contained in the sign of Taurus are going to be expressing themselves very inwardly. Because Taurus is an earth sign, the energy surrounding Taurus is very grounded, it's very practical, and it very much likes comfort and security, which is also the essence of the fixed modality. So if you have planets in your natal chart that is in the sign of Taurus, this is where you tend to be, or this is where that planetary energy tends to express itself in a very fixed, rooted, and stubborn sort of way. Hence why Taurus gets the reputation of being pretty stubborn, and it is symbolized by the bull. Okay, so that Taurus energy, it's very feminine, so it's receptive, it's inward looking, and it's not as expressive as, say, like an Aries, right? But by and large, the energy of Taurus is about being practical, being real, and being grounded in whatever it is that you have. Next up is Gemini, and Gemini is masculine, air, and mutable. So any planets or points contained in the sign of Gemini are going to express themselves in a very outward sort of way. Because Gemini is an air sign, that planetary energy is going to be very expressive, communicative, and very intellectual. It has a lot to do with how you think, how you communicate, and how you relate to others. Now, the fact that Gemini is a mutable sign means that it's concerned with change and adaptability. Hence why that Gemini energy feels very mixy and sort of all over the place, and why Gemini is really considered the social butterfly of the zodiac. It's because that energy is mutable, so it changes, it shifts, and it flows without any restriction. So think about that next time you're thinking about Gemini energy and why it's so mixy and why it's all over the place. And again, so if you have any planets in your natal chart in the sign of Gemini, that is where you express yourself in a very uninhibited, but very intellectual and relatable sort of way. Whew, I know this is a lot of information, all right? So if you made it this far into the video, comment with a planet emoji so I know that you're still here and that you're still watching. Thereafter, we have the sign of Cancer, and Cancer is feminine, water, and cardinal. So it makes sense that Cancer is cardinal because it's the first of the water signs. As we go around the zodiac wheel, it's the first water sign that we encounter. Now, Cancer energy is extremely feminine. It's very introverted. It's psychic. It's sensitive. But because it's the first of the water signs, it's sort of the foundation of our lives, okay? And it represents the foundation of our lives. That water energy is extremely emotional, hence why Cancers get the reputation of being moody and sensitive. It's also can be destructive, right? You can either have soothing, calm water, or you can have a tsunami, right? And that harshness, that defensiveness that Cancers often have, especially when they're defending someone they love, comes from that dual nature of water as being like nurturing and creative, yet also destructive. Then next up, we've got Leo. And Leo is masculine, fire, and fixed. So Leo is the second of the fire signs. We've already had Aries. Aries was very much about starting things. Because Leo is a fixed sign, it sort of stabilizes that fire energy. It keeps the fire going. One of the analogies I love to use with the fire signs is that Aries is like a firecracker, and Leo is more so like a campfire. It's fire that you keep going. Now, because it's fire, it's obviously outwardly expressed. Because it is a because it's masculine and fire, it tends to be outwardly expressive, a bit bold and impulsive. Now, Leos also get the reputation of being sort of self-centered or very regal. They really stand out, and that is that fire masculine energy at work. But it's not so much about being bold and daring like Aries. It's more so about maintaining that stability because it is a fixed sign. Then comes Virgo, and Virgo is feminine, earth, and mutable. So I want you to think about the time period of the year that represents Virgo season, right? It's that summer into fall kind of energy, you know, especially when the weather can be a bit predictable. It can be like really warm or it can be sort of cool. It's when the temperature sort of changes. That is the energy and the essence of Virgo energy. Now, Virgo is extremely feminine, right? As it is symbolized by the Virgin. So it's introverted. It's very soft. It's very receptive because of that feminine polarity. Now, because it's Earth, Virgo is very down to earth and practical. We all know that Virgo energy, that detail oriented, very practical, organizational kind of energy. And that comes from the fact that Virgo is an earth sign. All right. Next up, we've got Libra. And so Libra is masculine, air, and cardinal. So Libra ushers in the fall season, right? So it starts something, hence why it is a cardinal sign. But in terms of starting something, have you ever realized that Libras are super comfortable starting conversations with random people? Or in other situations, random people have no problem really starting conversations with Libra because of that initiating and cardinal energy. All right. And so because Libra is a masculine air sign, it's very expressive, especially when it comes to communicating. Hence why Libra is the relationship sign, the sign of relationships. Everything about Libra is lived through others, through that communicative style. Through that communicative style, which is representative of that air and that masculine energy. Thereafter, we've got Scorpio. And Scorpio is feminine, water, and fixed. I don't know about you, but when I first started learning the signs, it kind of surprised me that Scorpio was a feminine sign, because the way the Scorpio energy feels, it kind of feels masculine, right? But however, that very intense, very almost destructive energy is very representative of feminine energy. Now, everything about Scorpio is substantive, it's deep, it's getting to the truth of things. That is the essence of feminine water energy. Scorpio is all about repressed emotions and emotions in general, but emotions felt very deeply and intensely. Again, that's that feminine water energy. Now, because Scorpio is a fixed sign, it's about maintaining that water energy, maintaining and stabilizing that sensitivity. And it's very sensitive and resistant to change, especially on the emotional plane. I know we all know a Scorpio or two, and they are very intense. And when it comes to their emotions, they are very fixed in their emotions. They understand their emotions pretty well. That really speaks to that fixed modality of the Scorpio energy. All right, so now we get to the last of the fire signs, which is Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is masculine, fire, and mutable. So Aries was about starting, Leo was about maintaining, and then Sagittarius is about changing and adapting. So that masculine fire sign is why Sagittarius is very expressive, very optimistic, a bit over the top in some sense, very intense, but not in the way that Scorpio is intense. I feel like Sagittarius has that spirituality intensity that you can feel. It's like literally sitting next to a blazing fire, right? For better or for worse. Now, that masculine energy, again, allows Sagittarius to be expressive. That fire energy is bold, it's dynamic, and it's very impulsive, okay? And again, optimistic. And then that mutable modality allows Sagittarius to be very flexible and adaptable. So think about the time of the year when it's Sagittarius season. It's when fall is turning into winter, when it's like we're sort of winding things down and getting ready for hibernation. That's the essence of that mutable energy as expressed through Sagittarius. And then we move on to Capricorn, which is the last of the earth signs. So Capricorn is feminine, earth, and cardinal. So Taurus was about maintaining the energy because it's fixed. Virgo was about changing the energy because it's mutable. And Capricorn is about initiating the energy because it is cardinal. Now, I don't know about you, but Capricorn is also a sign that I didn't realize was feminine in its expression. I really thought the Capricorn was a masculine sign. However, all of the earth signs are feminine, and all of the earth and water signs are feminine, and all of the fire and air signs are masculine, just so you know. So back to Capricorn. Capricorn energy is about status. It's about security, right? But it's about initiating those things for yourself. You know how we all think about Capricorn as like the big boss? Well, the big boss is the one that runs things. It's the person that starts things. It's the CEO of the company. So when it comes to security, Capricorn is all about creating that security for themselves. That's what speaks to that cardinal energy or that cardinal expression in Capricorn. Now, because we're talking about security, we're talking about money and practical things and status, all things characteristic of Capricorn, that speaks to the earth element as expressed through Capricorn. And then finally, that feminine energy is all about I wouldn't say maintaining it, but it's all about having it, possessing it, right? That is the essence of the feminine energy as expressed through Capricorn. Moving on, we get to Aquarius, and Aquarius is the last of the air signs. So Aquarius is masculine, air, and fixed. So the first of the air signs, Gemini, was mutable. So it's all about changing the energy. The second is Libra, which is cardinal, which is about initiating and starting. And then Aquarius is fixed, which is about maintaining and stabilizing. So this one I knew going into astrology, that Aquarius is an air sign, even though it's symbolized by the water bearer, is indeed an air sign, all right? So being masculine air, it's all about expression, especially as it pertains to our communication and how we relate to people. It fits with that sort of Aquarius archetype because Aquarius represents humanity and how we relate to them, but more on a super conscious and intellectual level. So whereas Libra is really about talking to people and relating to people, Aquarius is more like understanding people and identifying with people on a more intellectual sort of level. That speaks to that masculine air energy. And again, because it is a fixed sign, it's related to stabilizing and securing the energy. Think about Aquarius season. As I film this, we are currently in Aquarius season, and it is the dead of winter, right? The weather doesn't change. The weather has stabilized, especially if you are in a place that has 4 seasons. Dead of winter, it's cold, it's dark. There's nothing that really changes about that. And speaking of fixed signs, that Aquarian energy is very resistant to change. The way that they think is sort of how they think, and it may be a little difficult to change their minds. All right, so that's the essence of Aquarius energy. And then finally, last but not least, we get to Pisces. And Pisces is the last of the water signs. So Pisces is feminine, water, and mutable. So Cancer was the first water sign, which was all about initiation. Then we had Scorpio, which is fixed, which is all about sustainability. And then Pisces finally is mutable, which is all about change. Think of Pisces season during the year. That's when we change. That's when the weather changes from cold to warmer, should I say, or from winter to spring, okay? Now, Pisces is extremely sensitive, extremely psychic. The last of the water signs makes it extremely intuitive and sensitive and empathic. That is the essence of that feminine water energy in that mutable modality, okay? That's why Pisces feels everything. Pisces can feel your emotions. They can feel the emotions of the person across the room. It's very sensitive in that regard. It's also very empathic. It's very compassionate. It's the last of the signs. And so it has taken everything that it's learned from Aries on and has incorporated it into itself. Hence why Pisces typically feel like they have an old soul. They know a lot more than they sort of let on. And I'm not talking about book smart. I'm talking about just knowledge and wisdom, all right? So that's the essence of that Pisces energy, which is, again, feminine, water, and mutable. All right, so let's take a look at an example to illustrate what we've learned so far. And if you need a refresher, hit the playlist and check out parts 1 and 2 of this series. All right, so in this example, in your natal chart, you have Venus in your 4th house, and your 4th house is the sign of Capricorn. So the topic that we're talking about is love and money, because that's what Venus governs. Where this is playing out is your area of life that deals with home and family. And the way that Venus is going to express herself is governed by the sign of Capricorn. So love and money, home and family, Capricorn, which is feminine, earth, and cardinal. So basically, when it comes to how you deal with love and money, the topic of love and money, the way you deal with it, the way that you express that energy can be kind of practical, down to earth. You like to start things when it comes to love and money, but it's definitely not particularly emotional. You view love and money from a very rational and down to earth sort of vantage point. Now, love and money play out in your area of home and family. So your family relationships may be very pronounced or prominent in your life, particularly your relationship with your mother, because that's governed by the fourth house. Now, because Capricorn has a lot to do with career and status, the way that you attract money has a lot to do with your career. And your career likely has something to do with home or family. So maybe you are the CEO of a daycare center. Maybe you are an interior designer, perhaps at your own interior design firm. Or maybe you are someone who is into real estate investment, or real estate development. So you see how all of this works together? We've got the topic of love and money covered by Venus. We have the area of life, of home and family, covered by the fourth house. And then the way that Venus expresses herself is very practical, down to earth, and initiating, because Venus is in the sign of Capricorn. So see how everything works out lovely? All right, so hopefully you understood that, and hopefully you understand a little bit more of how to read your natal chart. All right, my loves, so that concludes this video on the zodiac signs, all right? This part 3 of the 5-part series on how to read your natal chart. So at this point, I hope that you have a better understanding of the natal chart components, so that we can move on to the next pillar, which is the aspects, all right? So definitely don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you'll be notified when I drop that particular video, all right? We are almost done with this series, and I'm so excited to be bringing all of this together with you in the final and 5th video, all right? So definitely stay tuned for that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.